Are your city adventures boring? Do the players just come into town to pick up a few supplies, repair their armor, rest so they can go out on another dungeon crawl? Or are they places where there's lots of entertainment, lots of excitement, lots of mystery and intrigue? In this video, I'm going to talk about why your city and town adventures should be the most exciting part of your campaign. This video is in response to something I saw on the Hack and Slash blog by Courtney Campbell. He was talking about cities, and this was his third part on cities, and he says, describing how you create a cities, and he says, that seems like a lot of work, and I'm telling you, don't do it. Unless the city is very large and reusable, he says, or somewhere where your players are going to be spending a lot of time, then I suggest not bothering coming up with more than 2 options on most of these tables. Basically, he's saying, oh, don't spend any time on building your cities out. And I go, what? I'm going, that's insane. Cities are the lifeblood of your campaign. That's where the dungeon master or the game master gets to role play. Almost nowhere else can the game master really get into role playing. You go out, you see some big monster and you have to fight it. You're going to role play the monster. Well, okay, you can do some of that, but there's no real interaction because it's more combat oriented. Where in cities and towns, you can come in, there can be intrigue, there can be politics, there can be sex, there can be violence, and maybe not fatal. Maybe it's just a bar brawl. You know, everybody's seen, I'm sure, the Pirates of the Caribbean, and where they go into Tortuga or whatever, however it's pronounced. I am terrible at pronouncing names. And the description of the town there compared to, it says you see all these fights going on, this discussion. If you watched Black Sails, you've seen some of the things that are going on there, or even going back to Star Wars, and you see, into the going into the bar and the cantina, and you see all the characters and the interesting things that are happening there. Those are the excitement that you can put into cities and towns. Those are the things that make life interesting for the game master. Where else can the game master really get into role playing? He can't do it when you're attacking a bunch of wolves that are attacking it, or you're going out and fighting a bunch of spiders. Okay, maybe you can figure out how to role play. Sometimes I have a real difficult time imagining how to role play a spider. Okay, yeah, come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. But really, you really don't have much interaction normally with your characters. You can't talk to the characters in character because very seldom are you really engaging in conversation and combat. You maybe have 1 or 2 taunts and some discussion, and then it results into sword swinging and mace smashing. And so what happens is it's a melee as opposed to negotiation, as opposed to backstabbing in the dark, thinking about, all the political intrigue. Why is the Game of Thrones such an enthralling book? Because you have such political stuff going on in the background. Yes, you have a whole bunch of other violence and sex and everything else, but that's there. So I strongly disagree with Courtney Campbell, and I was doing some research on this, and Justin Alexander did, and I'll put the links to both of these sets of articles, did a 12-part long blog about Urbancrawls, where he talks about how to running what he calls an urban crawl, where you're going through and you're exploring cities and you're having adventures rather than stuck in the going through dungeons. So you can have all the fun inside a city. And for me, that's much more interesting where you have all these fascinating characters. You can create fascinating characters. The interesting comparison is have you I unfortunately haven't read the book, but have you seen the movie in the midnight in the garden of midnight midnight in the garden of good and evil, where you have the fascinating characters that are there, and the description is it's like of Savannah is that it's like Gone with the Wind on mescaline. Well, why not put a city like that uh, into your campaign, where you have these characters who go out and, because of various wills and estates, is walking the dog that's dead. Well, you can have some interesting, you can actually have a dead dog walking. You can have a zombie dog that someone is walking because he gets paid to walk the dog every day as long as he walks the dog. You can have all these colorful characters that go through and breathe life and adventure and excitement in your city or town or village or whatever size you want that is interesting. I remember, you run in throughout your life, you run into interesting characters. And there was this, when I was a young man, there was this place that fixed cars. I took my car in and had them rebuild the engine and things like that. And the interesting part was you had the old man who owned the place, and his children and his boys, as he called them, his boys. His boys were in their 60s. He was up there and he was talking about, so you go in there and you see the rooster walking around, occasionally crowing, and made a comment about the rooster, and he goes, "Yeah, that's Jake." He says, "We call him Jake because the old Jake passed away, but the new Jake just doesn't have any personality." It's a rooster. Doesn't have any personality. Okay, there's a whole story there that's fascinating. And you come through and go, this is interesting stuff. This is where you meet interesting people. This is where you meet interesting characters who can send the party on a whole different types of adventures. Maybe that this is where they find the link to where to go out and find the next tomb to raid or to the next major treasure. But it should be the whole adventure. You could have adventure after adventure after adventure in the city. And that's what I say. You need to build out your cities. It's never wasted, because if you're running a campaign, there's always more that you can add, and the players can come back and go through and find it later on. I view preparation as a long-term investment. You put a long-term investment that it will come back and pay you back in some adventure, maybe years down the road, when a different group come wandering into your campaign. Come into here and discuss it. So populate these out. Spend a little bit of extra time. Make the cities, invest in your cities. Interesting philosophical discussion there, but invest in building out your cities, building out the infrastructure of your cities, and make them interesting to your players so that they want to go into the cities. Sometimes, unfortunately, I've had some adventures where I've scared characters away. I had the one where I thought it was going to be a great introduction to the city. They sail their little ship that they've bought, and they sail it into the dock, and the dockmaster arrives and that charges them, and they walk into the town, and a series of street urchins see them, and they immediately recognize them as foreigners. They're a mark. We can get money from them because they've got something set up with the city guard. So what happens is you have the one of the as the party comes walking through, one of the young street urchins is naked now, covered with blood, and he comes running out and he points at one of the characters and he goes, "He did it! He did it to me! He's the monster." Well, okay. I thought it was going to be fun. It turned into a slaughter. Of course, I underestimated my party. They go, "Oh no. We're not going to let the city guard capture us and accuse us of something horrible with children. We'll off the city guard and we'll off the street urchins and then we'll run away." Okay, I made a mistake. I thought that they would let the guards capture them, but they just slaughtered them, which was interesting, but it didn't get them into the city. I thought I was going to throw them into jail and so on, and sometimes plans go awry. But what happens is that then they avoid that city like the plague. So that's okay. I spent a lot of time building the city out, but I know that I'll have other adventurers coming in and going through that city sometime in the future. So I plan out all these things where you can entrap characters, throw them into prisons, throw them and have them escape, meet interesting people there, down into maybe the dungeons under the city. There you can go. You can have entire adventures under the city. I've been meaning to do some more about Aperi, which is a small little village, and there's an entire set of quests and various things. What's going on there? Who's having an affair with who is interested in what somebody else is growing in their garden. All these type of things that go on in a small town or a city, and you can steal plots and ideas from all these interesting books, everything from Peyton plays to what is it, and the Ladies of the Club. I haven't read the book. I've heard about it, but it's it's a rebuttal to Our Town. But it's interesting stories in literature that you can steal these ideas from, put them into your adventures, and add whole new challenges to the players and make them get involved in the social interactions. Make your cities the key, that they're the spice that attracts the players. That's where the traffic is going. That's where everybody is looking for. What was the line in Conan? It says it's evil, and yeah, that's what you want. Your players want to go visit the place where there's interesting things to do, interesting people to see, and have a different kind of adventure rather than just another dungeon crawl. If you like my video, press the thumbs up button. I'd appreciate that. Or if this interests you, you can always subscribe to my channel. There's a button right above. I look forward to hearing some comments. Tell me what you think about this, and I'll try and reply, and we can see if I'll do some more of these. Thank you.